And Amy, so one of the more entertaining exchanges
Oh, yeah.
yesterday during the Senate Intel Committee hearing featuring Jeff Sessions was Senator Tom Cotton after half a dozen Democrats had completed their questioning of Sessions. Cotton picked up on something and wanted to relay his observations to Jeff Sessions.
Spy.
I am on this side of the dais. So a very simple question that should be asked is, did Donald Trump or any of his associates in the campaign collude with Russia in hacking those emails and releasing them to the public? That's where we started 6 months ago. We have now heard from 6 of the 8 Democrats in this committee, and to my knowledge, I don't think a single one of them asked that question. They've gone down lots of other rabbit trails, but not that question. Maybe that is because Jim Comey said last week, as he said to Donald Trump, that on 3 times he assured him he was not under investigation. Maybe it's because multiple Democrats on this committee have stated they have seen no evidence thus far after 6 months of our investigation and 11 months of an FBI investigation of any such collusion. I would just suggest, what do we think happened at the Mayflower? Mr. Sessions, are you familiar with what spies called tradecraft?
A little bit.
That involves things like covert communications and dead drops and brush passes, right?
That is part of it.
Do you like spy fiction? John Le Carre, Daniel Silva, Jason Matthews?
Yeah, Alan first. David Ignatius. Just finished Ignatius's book.
Do you like Jason Bourne or James Bond movies?
No. Yes. I do.
Have you ever, in any of these fantastical situations, heard of a plot line so ridiculous that a sitting United States senator and an ambassador of a foreign government colluded at an open setting with hundreds of other people to pull off the greatest caper in the history of espionage?
Thank you for saying that, Senator Cotton. It's just like through the looking glass. I mean, what is this?
Exactly. What is this? We are Alice in Wonderland territory, and Tom Cotton summed it up nicely, except Jean Le Carre. You know that Arkansas dialect. He didn't quite nail that. But
the Southern Sweet.
Yeah. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by former DOJ lawyer and FEC commissioner. He is now a Heritage Foundation senior legal fellow. He's Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, Amy, it's good to talk to you.
So your reaction to Jeff Sessions' testimony yesterday, and particularly Tom Cotton's observations about the questions from Democrats?
It was an enormous waste of time. I mean, the Democrats, and Tom Cotton was right, but the Democrats just kept asking him questions, often insulting questions, particularly from Ron Wyden and Kamala Harris of California. And the only thing that came out of this hearing is what we've known so far now all along, which is there is simply no evidence of any kind to support this myth that's been pushed now for months that there was some kind of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government, particularly Russian intelligence operatives, to somehow interfere with the election. I mean, there's just nothing to it. It really is an Alice in Wonderland story.
And, you know, the left this morning is making a big deal that Sessions refused to discuss conversations with President Trump, which is a real stretch.
Well, that's just ridiculous. I mean, everyone knows, well, except apparently Kamala Harris, who used to be the Attorney General of California, and you would think might know the law, right, that presidents have privileged conversations with their aides and their cabinet officials in the White House. It has been that way since George Washington. And the idea that Sessions would come in and basically break that privilege and talk about confidential communications, I mean, it's just absurd.
Well, and F.H. Buckley, who's a law professor at George Mason University Law School, I guess it's Scalia Law School now, he wrote a piece for Fox, The Vindication of an Honest Man, regarding Sessions' testimony. And he makes the point that, yes, the president is the only one who can invoke the privilege, but if he disclosed the nature of the conversation before the committee, Sessions, then he would deprive the president of that option, his privilege, and Sessions made a perfectly clear statement of principle on that matter.
Yeah, he certainly did. Look, the way anybody should think about this is think about it like the attorney-client relationship. It's only the client that has the ability to tell his lawyer, yeah, you can tell the world about what we talked about. The lawyer can't do that. And the push by the senators yesterday on this issue, again, you and I, look, we all know they certainly would not have questioned any Obama administration official about their refusal to disclose conversations with the president in the White House. They would have said, well, of course, that's the way it should be.
Well, do you think it was a good or a wise decision not to meet privately with the Senate Intel Committee after the public hearing?
Yes. I think the whole point of this, given the fact that Senator Sessions, it used to be Senator Sessions. Mm-hmm. Look, Attorney General Sessions knew nothing about the Russia investigation, which is supposedly what this Intelligence Committee is looking into, because why? Well, he recused himself from it as soon as he became Attorney General. The reason he wanted a public hearing was so he could do exactly what he did yesterday, which was basically deny that there was anything to all these absurd rumors that are being pushed by the media.
Right, and so you have him issuing that categorical explanation with respect to his recusal, that he's had no material participation, hasn't seen any documents, hasn't talked to anybody. And then, over at a subcommittee not far away, you had his Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, saying the same thing, that he doesn't know what we're investigating. I'm not going to talk about publicly what we are investigating, but he doesn't know where we're at, what we're investigating, who we're talking to. He doesn't know anything. So the recusal is a real recusal, according to Rod Rosenstein, who, by the way, in case people don't remember, got a nice endorsement by Sally Yates on her way out the door, where she went so far as to say, because Rod Rosenstein is in charge of the Russian collusion investigation, I don't even think we need a special counsel. And she's hardly a flack for the Trump administration. So, everywhere the Democrats turn, because they have no evidence, they're made to look foolish if Republicans, I think, would be a little bit more vociferous like Tom Cotton was.
Oh, look, I agree with that. And something else that popped out of yesterday's hearing is catching James Comey in another lie. Mm-hmm. Because remember, one of the things that Comey said was, well, I wasn't informed about the details of the recusal or why it occurred or anything like that. And no, well, it turns out that the Office of the Attorney General sent Comey specifically an email on March 2nd telling him that the Attorney General, in fact, had recused himself after consulting with ethics officials there, and that the FBI director was instructed not to in any way give the Attorney General any information or brief him on the details of the investigation. So Comey basically, I think, presented false testimony last week.
Yeah, and he also, too, he talked about the time that he asked Sessions for help. I don't want to be left alone with the president. And AG Sessions kind of destroyed that theory as well.
Yeah, he did. I got to tell you, more and more it looks like James Comey was, what he was trying to do last week, I think, was rehabilitate his shattered reputation, which, as you know, last year Democrats were asking for his resignation because of the way he had mishandled the Clinton administration, the Clinton email scandal.
It was a matter.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, matter.
Please,
yeah.
Hans.
And Comey certainly was not successful in doing that. I guess that might make the value of the memoirs he's trying to sell down.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he held something back in his Hello Kitty diary that will be in that 7-figure book deal he gets. But on the underlying topic, which is actually a serious topic, the integrity of our elections, and I know you, especially being a former FEC commissioner, done a lot of work in this space, and you've done a lot of work with the Heritage Foundation in this space as well. So a couple of things that happen that completely go unreported, virtually unreported, while they're chasing this spy novel narrative that the New York Times is promulgating with the help of congressional Democrats. This week, a James Madison University student is pleading guilty to voter fraud in Virginia. And then this story out of Bloomberg yesterday that the attempts, at least, for Russian cyber hackers to pierce electoral systems around the country was wider. It was wider than previously believed, talking about as many as 39 states where they tried to incur into voter databases and software systems that manage election proceedings, including in Illinois, where we are. Investigators found evidence that cyber intruders tried to delete or alter voter data. And this is a particular concern for us in Illinois because we want to make sure that the dead are still able to vote.
Yeah, but look, we've known all along that Russians were trying to do that, and that's been confirmed. But it's important to realize two things. One, Comey was directly asked about this in his hearing, and he said there was no evidence that there was any successful attempt by the Russians or anyone else to hack into and get into the voting and ballot counting process. And that echoes what Jay Johnson, the former Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security under Barack Obama, said only 1 week after the election. Of course,
and Loretta Lynch said the same.
Yes, no, that's right. Of course, part of this points out the danger of having online voter registration, which is something that Illinois has put in. If you put that online, then you are giving hackers anywhere the ability to try to hack into the system.
How do you think President Trump should handle this now that Comey has testified? We got his reaction to that. Jeff Sessions testified. He said last night that he did a good job, but how should he move forward?
I think Trump needs to just, frankly, ignore this and concentrate on the substantive things he's got to do. That is repealing Obamacare, getting a tax reduction plan in place, getting a budget. I mean, I think he needs to work on those things that he was elected for by the American people and just drop this and not worry about it.
All right. He is former Department of Justice attorney and FEC commissioner. Currently, he's the senior legal fellow for the Heritage Foundation, of course. He's Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.